Commissioning Triol AT27 quickly and reliably. Triol medium voltage frequency drives are used to solve the following technological and economic problems for an enterprise: control of key technological processes with powerful motors, integration of new critical equipment with minimal impact on the enterprise's other infrastructure, implementation of a profitable investment, creation of new opportunities to increase the competitiveness of the enterprise, creation of a single fleet of powerful drives at the enterprise with a single control logic and element base. To solve all of these challenges in the most profitable way, you need to perform the following steps. Choose the right main equipment and the necessary options for the challenge. Develop a project for the integration of new equipment with the existing or projected infrastructure of the enterprise. Quickly and reliably introduce new critical equipment. Introduce a monitoring system for key indicators of the technological process and the equipment itself. Prepare, train, and provide personnel for the further successful operation of equipment, networks, options, and monitoring systems. In this tutorial, we will tell you how to quickly and reliably install, connect, and put into operation the Triol AT27 medium voltage VFD. Safety. Before proceeding to the step-by-step implementation of our challenge, we want to point out the following 9 additional security measures. The VFD is connected to hazardous voltages and operates machines with rotating mechanical parts that are sources of danger. For this reason, only qualified personnel with experience in installing medium voltage electrical equipment can carry out electrical installation work on the Triol AT27 VFD. Ensure that unauthorized personnel cannot access the VFD. People with a heart pacemaker must not be in the immediate vicinity of the VFD during operation. When setting up and operating the VFD, it is forbidden to in any way switch off, muffle, or block the operation of the protection against electric shock to personnel. After switching off the VFD power supply, dangerous voltages may remain on the live parts. In order to avoid electric shock, it is necessary to start work no earlier than 15 minutes after turning off the VFD power supply. Do not carry out any work on the power and control cables when the VFD power supply is connected. Hazardous voltages from external sources may also be present at the relay outputs, even if no supply voltage is applied to the input terminals of the VFD. To ensure the safety of personnel, as well as to reduce the level of electromagnetic radiation and improve noise immunity, the condition of the grounding conductors and the reliability of their fastening outside and inside the VFD should be monitored. The VFD may only be used for the purposes specified by the manufacturer. Unauthorized modifications and use of spare parts and accessories not manufactured or recommended by the manufacturer of the VFD may cause fire, electric shock, or injury, and may void the manufacturer's warranty. Do not operate the VFD with removed or loose housing parts, as there is a risk of electric shock and/or equipment damage. Printed circuit boards contain static-sensitive components. Always wear an ESD wrist strap when handling printed circuit boards. Do not touch the boards unnecessarily. Maintenance work on the VFD on components and assemblies that are sensitive to electrostatic discharge must only be performed by qualified personnel using ESD protective equipment who are experienced in servicing converter technology. Failure to handle electrostatic sensitive components safely can damage the VFD. VFD repairs can only be carried out by personnel certified by the Triol Corporation Service at the place of operation of the product. Installation on site. To install the AT27, it is necessary to transport it through the enterprise to a place intended for operation and install it in a designated place where it cannot fall, overturn, or slide. When choosing a location for the installation of the equipment, the weight of the product should be considered to avoid destruction of floors and foundations. AT27 equipment weight is indicated on the nameplate, which is located on the front of the equipment. Slinging of the VFD must be carried out by the lugs located on the compartment frame. During installation in a prepared place, the following requirements must be observed. The installation site must meet the fire safety requirements for electrical installations above 1 kV without oil-filled equipment. The ambient temperature at the installation site must be within the permissible range. For ED line from -10 Celsius to +40 Celsius. For DD line, from +1 Celsius to +40 Celsius. For MV line, from -40 Celsius to +60 Celsius. For RX line, from -60 Celsius to +40 Celsius. The foundation at the VFD installation site should not be lower than the floor or adjacent landscape level when installed outdoors. In case of outdoor installation, install a drainage system around the VFD installation site to protect it from rain and groundwater. The permissible difference in the level of the foundation is not more than 5 millimeters over the entire length of the VFD. The VFD can be installed on the following types of foundations: concrete, reinforced concrete, metal building base, foundation, a frame made of metal structures, or on a building foundation made using embedded elements. When preparing the foundation for installing the VFD, consider its own weight. Do not install the VFD on a flammable base. With all methods of installation, mechanical contact of the surface of the building base with the support surfaces of the VFD power frame must be ensured over the entire area of these surfaces. After installing the VFD, the opening and closing of all compartment doors must be checked. If the doors do not open or close completely, adjust the level of the VFD. Power connections. Depending on the AT27 model, there are structural differences in the input compartments which impose a number of features associated with the implementation of the power input and output cable connections. In the input compartment of the AT27 ED line, the input power cable and the motor power cable are connected in the following sequence. Open the compartment doors and gain access to the transformer input terminals and the VFD output terminals. The transformer compartment input terminals are located behind the transformer air cooling channel. To access the terminals, remove the cable cover by loosening the polyamide screws with a PH2 screwdriver. Cut a hole in the rubber seal of the hatch with a knife according to the cable diameter. Seal the cable and pass the cable through the hole. Cut the cable to the required length according to the requirements for the preparation, laying, and connection of cables. Install the cable gland. To avoid damaging the compartment, cut the cables and install the cable glands outside the compartment. Connect the input cable to the input terminals of the power transformer. Connect the motor cable to the VFD output terminals. Using the clamps located near the cable hatch inside the VFD, fix the power cables. The input compartments of the DD and MV line VFDs have a similar design. The input compartment is located on the right side of the AT27 behind the removable panels. Cable entry is carried out from below or from the side through the entrance hatches. Sealing of cables is carried out with hermetic glands. The VFD power cable is connected to the input terminals A, XT1, B, XT2, C, XT3. The motor power cable is connected to the output terminals U, XT4, V, XT5, W, XT6. In the RX line, power connections are made through hatches located at the bottom of the block box. Power cables are entered from below through seals. The number of cables depends on the configuration of power switching, and in each case, the connection scheme is individual. Signal connections. For the ED line, the signal circuits are connected in the control system compartment auxiliaries cable. Depending on the VFD version, signal cables are introduced through the sealed cable entry of the control compartment, located in the lower part of the compartment. The cables are cut to a length sufficient to allow restripping and connection. After stripping, all cable cores must be marked on both sides, according to the connection diagram. The ends of multi-core cables must be terminated with tubular lugs. After installation, it is necessary to install marking tags on each cable on both sides according to the connection diagram. Connection of signal cables for DD and MV lines is similar due to the general design of the input compartments. Requirements for cutting, marking, and installation of signal cable lugs are similar to those for ED line. The power cables of the VFD control system, external control, external signals of sensors and interfaces are connected to custom terminal units installed in the signal cable input compartment. In the RX line, signal connections are made through the input located at the bottom of the block box. The control cables are entered from the bottom, through seals. The number of cables depends on the number and configuration of the connected external equipment and is individual in each case. First start. Our VFD is now ready for the first start. Let's turn on the AT27 for the first time, step by step. For this, we need to check the auxiliary voltage of 3 phases. 380 volt, 480 volt is supplied to the auxiliary terminal unit. Check the serviceability of the uninterruptible power supply, if any. Apply auxiliary voltage to the AT27 control system, making sure that circuit breakers do not operate when power is applied. The UMKA controller is loaded and ready to operate. At this point, the AT27 should not create mechanical noise. There should be no spontaneous switching on and off of switching devices and no smoke or fire in the compartments. Commissioning the Triol Wizard. After a successful first start, proceed to commissioning. For this purpose, Triol Corporation offers Triol Wizard, a tool that will allow you to complete the entire set of commissioning works in 20 steps. Thanks to the Triol Wizard software, commissioning can be done by a specialist with no AT27 experience. Thanks to Triol Wizard, it is impossible to make a mistake. It is impossible to take unnecessary steps in the process. It is impossible to miss any important elements. Commissioning works can be conditionally divided into 3 parts. Testing of basic functionality without medium voltage supply. Testing of basic functionality with medium voltage supply. Setting options. Without medium voltage supply, the following tests are performed. Setting the date and time of the UMKA controller. Test of the emergency stop button. Automatic diagnostics of analog and discrete expansion units, inputs and outputs. Test of cooling fans. Test of door limit switches. Manual disconnectors and grounding switches. Test of the power cell's pre-charge system. PWM test with the formation of the output voltage and frequency. Test of passing signals from the switchgear supply cell. Calibration of analog inputs. Calibration of analog outputs. With the medium voltage supply, the following tests are performed. AT27 test with medium voltage and without a motor. Setting the VF characteristics. Setting of parameters of the motor. AT27 test with medium voltage with a connected motor and no load. AT27 test with external discrete control signals. AT27 test with medium voltage with a connected motor and load. In some cases, it is necessary to configure additional AT27 capabilities. For this, the Triol Wizard provides settings that relate to options: automatic restart, rotating motor flying start, setting up a communication channel with SCADA. Commissioning. After the completion of commissioning, the final stage begins: the transfer of equipment into operation. At this stage, the customer conducts 72-hour tests of new equipment as part of the existing technological equipment and while ensuring the required technological process. Based on the results of 72 hours of testing, the revealed comments of the customer are eliminated. Acceptance test and transfer of equipment into operation acts are signed. This concludes the installation, commissioning, testing, and transfer of AT27 to the customer. Commissioning of equipment is a key step towards a modernization or development project. See our other materials on how to identify technological processes in which Triol AT27 is needed, to choose the right main equipment AT27 and the necessary options for the task at hand, to use Triol Select to select the correct Triol AT27 model, to organize an effective control and monitoring system for the Triol AT27 series products and technological processes in which they are used, to service Triol AT27 during operation. Other. Work with Triol. Sell knowledge.